Welcome to Seat Time, everybody, the off-road show that brings you all the results, news, and online shenanigans that make being online a good time. We'd like to say thank you to Fly Racing for their support of Seat Time. Please go check them out at flyracing.com. Okay, I'm going to blame it on Kurt Caselli. We've had some issues. He wasn't able to hear me. That may happen again. We have no idea, and if it does, we at least have some form of a backup plan. So to keep things short, Kurt Caselli on the phone with us because he's cute on video. How is your evening going? You having a good night?
Yeah, it's good. Just another Monday after the races. Got a bunch of stuff to clean up, and I leave tomorrow morning for Baja. Okay,
you're leaving tomorrow for Baja, but you just got back from Dakar. You had the Hare and Hound this past weekend, round one. Obviously, tons of stuff going on. So please let us know. First off, you got the call to go to Dakar. You know, how was that for you? It's something you've probably been following forever, but, you know, you got that call and you're like, I'm a kid in a candy store jumping upside down. How was that?
Well, you know, Dakar's been on my list of things to do and a career goal for a long time. I started watching Dakar a long time ago, and, you know, it's just one of those races that has so much hype and there's so much to it that I think unless you go and experience it, you don't really know fully what it's about. So I got the phone call 2 weeks before the race, and my boss here, KTM USA, Antti Kolonen, he asked, you know, hey, do you want to go do Dakar? And I said, yeah, sure. You know, when? And he said, in 2 weeks. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, you don't mean 2014?
Sure. Yeah, so, you know, it was definitely last minute. I had 2 weeks to kind of prepare and throw some gear and clothes together, but you know, the biggest thing with KTM is they didn't have any expectations for me. They didn't put any pressure on me. It was purely, you know, unfortunately Marc Coma was hurt, and they had a spot open, and you know, they called and asked if I wanted to do it. Obviously, I had to say yeah. I couldn't pass up that kind of opportunity. You know, I hung up the phone with my boss, and I had a smile on my face, and then it kind of sunk in, and I was like, oh, crap. What'd I get myself into?
Yeah.
But, you know, it was awesome. I got to get over there on the best team. I always told myself, you know, I want to do that race, but I don't want to do it unless it's done right. And KTM's been so great with the Baja effort. They're doing everything right that way, and so I feel more comfortable, you know, going to a big race like that with the best team, the best bike, a lot of good mechanics, and obviously Marc Coma was there to help me out. So it was cool. I mean, it was one of those things that I'll never forget. It was great memories, a lot of riding, definitely a long race, and it was just cool. I mean, I made it to the finish line. I was happy I finished, but at the same time, I was a little frustrated with the mistakes I had, and so I want to go back. I mean, it motivated me to definitely go race that race again and learn a lot more about navigating and just you know, hopefully one day be competitive and you know, obviously hopefully win it, but that's going to take a long time, and so we'll see what happens. But great experience, awesome time. Can't thank KTM enough for the opportunity, and just man, I want to go back.
I'm not going to try to imagine that I would understand what that trip was like, but it sounds like you've had an amazing time. 31st overall for your first Dakar. I don't think that there's many people that can say that that's what they were expecting to get, you know, the first time they did Dakar. Like you said, just going ahead and trying to finish in itself is quite a task. So, best day while at Dakar, you know, what was your
really good those days, and you know, the second stage I won was stage 11, and I started, I think, in 5th and was able to catch up to the lead group. It was raining a lot that day, so there was a lot of, you know, unmarked dangers with rain ruts, and so, you know, the way that they set up this race is they go out 6 months in advance and lay out the course, and they have to make road maps, and so, you know, sometimes it changes if there's some weather, or, you know, even the dunes changed with the wind. And so there could be dangerous spots that aren't on your road book, and you're not really, you know, ready for them.
Yeah.
But, you know, that day I caught up to the lead group and was riding with Cyril for a while. And, you know, it was good because I got to see kind of what the top guys do as far as the navigating and how they, pick lines through the sand dunes. And we hit a 2-track road, Cyril and I, and I felt good. It was a really fun kind of weaving road with some jumps and stuff, and I was able to get around him and pull away a little bit, and I still had I think 60 kilometers to go, so I was nervous. I mean, I was in front of Cyril. I caught him, I passed him, and then all of a sudden I'm on my own, and I got to try to navigate and find the waypoints and everything, and it worked out. I mean, I found all the waypoints. I basically had to make a trail. The first one out is always, it's kind of virgin. You're making the route for the rest of the guys. So I was able to stay ahead of him, find the waypoints, and win that stage. And I think that for me built a lot of confidence. I felt good knowing that my navigation was getting better, and that's the biggest thing is a lot of those guys are great riders, but I think the biggest difference is being able to ride up front, navigating, and being fast all at the same time. So.
Right.
Stage 11 was good. There was a lot of days with other stuff happening that I'll never forget, but all in all, it was just an awesome experience.
Yeah. Okay. Now, when it comes to, say, maybe like a traditional enduro format or something at the ISDE that you've done before, there it's not a who comes in first. It's off the clock. And so when you were saying that you beat Cyril, was that like a you beat him, like absolutely outright first one, through the checkered flag, or does that just mean like overall time wise from when someone left and someone came through that you beat his time?
Well, with old school traditional enduro, I'm used to ICO. You have resets, right. You have tiebreakers, things like that, and you have to stay on your minute all day long. This is a lot different. I mean, Dakar is more set up like a ISDE where you have transfer sections, which they call liaison sections, where you just ride down the road and the time is really relaxed. You have plenty of time to get to the start of the special test, and once you get to the start of the special, you line up in the order in which you finished the previous day. So whoever won the day before starts the stage first. And it's basically a hare and hound. I've told a lot of people it was surprising to me how similar the terrain was and the riding was compared to a national hare and hound and also some Baja events and best in the desert. And those are the things I grew up doing, so yeah. I felt really at home, really comfortable riding those speeds and the dirt roads and stuff. And the only difference was you're riding 200, 300 miles before the start of the special test, and then the special test is 150, 200, 300, sometimes 300 miles, and then even after that you have another 50 or 100 miles of more road section, and it's a long day. I mean, you're on the bike for 8, 10, 12 hours a day, and in between that time, the most important part is the stage, is the special test, and that's where you have to really push, find all the waypoints, obviously, and just not make mistakes with your road book. That thing can definitely save your life, or it could get you a little confused. But that's number one: reading your road book, staying on track, and just getting through each day kind of safe and saving the bike.
Yeah. So I guess a lot of Americans have been paying attention more and more to some of the ISDE events, especially this past year in Germany with everybody doing great video coverage. How does that compare? Maybe on a day-to-day basis, it's like those are obviously very, very long days. It sounds like you guys were having really, really long days at Dakar. So maybe, on that day-to-day basis, tell us how it's a little bit different. And then it sounds like the test sections in that sense of liaison versus, the actual test, how those two kind of differ.
Well, with 6 days, it's a little more regimented. I mean, when you wake up, start time's usually always the same. The days are always within an hour lengthwise of themselves, 7 to 8 hours a day. Yeah. You know exactly where the special tests are. You've walked them, so you're a lot more familiar with what you're getting into at 6 days. And I mean, 6 days is tough. That's a lot more sprints and high heart rate type riding. a lot more physical, a lot more technical. Where the Dakar, it's you know, some mornings we were up at 3, on the bike at 4. Other times you can wake up, sleeping in was waking up at 5 and getting on the bike at 6. And, you know, it's kind of a different kind of feel as far as sleep goes. But you know, the special stages are completely unknown. They're through the dunes, they're over dirt roads, just all different kinds of stuff. And so you have to be a little more cautious. You got to hold back a lot more, knowing that you have a 200-mile special test that you've never even seen before. You can't really go out aggressive and be hitting all the ditches wide open and wheeling over stuff. You have to really kind of, you know, be reserved and take care of the bike, take care of your body. But the heart rates are lower. Physically, I felt fine. I didn't really, you know, get too tired or fatigued. I was, you know, mentally tired, right, just from reading the road all day and not sleeping. But physically, I felt fine. And so there's a kind of a difference there between ISDE and this race. And, you know, when I first showed up, all I could think about was I have 14 days, so that's like 2 6 days back to back. And every 6 days that I've been to, all I've wanted to do after that end of that 6 days is not look at a motorcycle and not even touch one. So I was worried, you know, when I first came into it that I was going to get burned out and just, you know, mentally fatigued and tired and kind of over it. But it goes by quick, you know. The days are long, but I think that's what helps. It's kind of wake up, get on your bike, ride. As soon as you get off, you eat dinner and work on your road book and go straight to bed. So it's kind of a long, well, not kind of, it is a long,
yes,
long version, and it's fun. I mean, you get to meet a lot of people. You ride with different guys every day, and so there's a lot of cool points to it. And I mean, I enjoy it every day, whether it was a good day or a bad day.
Yeah. Could you give us just a hair bit more of information on the road book? I'm pretty sure we could all make an assumption that obviously this is, you know, where your waypoints are at, where maybe these the transfer sections are at, and kind of where you have to be for your checkpoints. But can you give us a little bit more, just, you know, what you're studying exactly when you're looking through all that stuff, maybe at night and during the day?
Yeah, you know, the road book, like I've told everybody that's asked, it's basically a scroll piece of paper with written directions. So if you were to give your friends, you know, a play-by-play, each corner, each dip, everything, directions of even a motocross track, you can kind of, you know, start to see that when you break it down, it turns into a lot of stuff.
Right.
You know, you have every single corner, every right-hander, left-hander, sweeping right, and this is where they give you an actual heading or a cap, and that's your degree. So you know, you could be headed at 0 degrees, and if they tell you to turn to 90 degrees, you know you're going to be making a right-hander, and it's going to be basically a 90-degree right-hander, obviously. So each corner is marked in your road book, and every danger is marked in there as well. So you really have to stay on track with your road book. You can't really cut corners, and, you know, if you see somebody off in the distance, don't just head towards them. You really have to focus on where you are, because all the dangers are marked within that certain road. And so you know, it's a lot to look at. You can go, you know, it's all kilometers, so I had that issue too, trying to figure out kilometers to miles. And it's a play-by-play. You could go, you know, a few kilometers and have 10 or 15 different instructions on where to turn, what to look out for as far as rocks or a fence that you have to go through or anything. So it's a constant reading and writing, and you have a thumb switch that you press on your handlebars that actually scrolls and turns the road book as you're reading it. You know, if you read, and it's all depicted by mileage. So you have mileage and then a picture of where you're going to turn,
right,
and something written out in some abbreviations with, you know, a downhill, dangerous, with rocks, anything like that. And so as soon as you read that and you're going through that section, you have to scroll and read the next part of the road book. And so, you know, it gets to where you're constantly looking down and looking up and trying to navigate with where you're riding, watching the terrain, watching out for rocks, and also trying to read what's coming up ahead. And so I mean, it's tough. It's a lot of work, and mentally you get really tired really quick because you're constantly processing everything and not just looking ahead and following the guy in front of you.
Yeah. Good question from the chat room is if can you scroll too far, or like can you screw yourself over by like pre-scrolling, I guess?
Yeah, you get ahead of yourself, and sometimes it'll say, okay, there's a ditch coming up, and there might be 3 different ditches, and you're not sure which one the road book is really talking about. And I did it a bunch. I'd scroll ahead too far, and then all of a sudden I'm kind of lost as to where I am, and I'm looking at my road book, and it's not making sense. And you have to pay attention with your odometer, which is calculating your mileage or kilometers.
Right.
And you have to really start focusing on recalibrating. Almost every time you go through a certain area or a certain corner, and you know exactly what that mileage is in that corner, you have to go to your trip and make sure it's on the same thing. So I'd scroll ahead, and obviously it's got a backup button where you can scroll reverse
Right.
and go back to where you were. But you can get ahead of yourself in your road book, and that's the biggest thing that becomes dangerous, is if you're not on the right page with your road book, you could be going wide open across a desert and not know that there's a ditch coming up because you either scrolled past it in your road book or you haven't exactly got to it yet. And so it takes time to really adjust the road book while you're riding to keep it updated to where you are physically with your mileage. So it's a lot of work. It gets confusing. The first few days I was all over the place, adjusting my mileage and doing the road book, and I literally had to sit down and go second gear and just look at what I was doing, and then figure it out, and then stand up and start riding again. And I think a lot of people get in trouble trying to figure out what they're doing and looking down so much, and then obviously you hit a rock or you don't see a corner coming, and it's hard. You got to take your time.
Yeah, it sounds like a route sheet for an old timekeeping enduro on steroids. What we used to set ICO2s and stuff like that. Okay, I did see a comment earlier today about how much lighter your 450 felt this past weekend. So give us a heads up. I mean, we've all seen those bikes. We know that they look heavy as shit. And that it seems like you're wearing, ridiculous amounts of gear. So tell us a little bit about, that kind of the bike setup and what you guys were wearing and stuff.
Well, rally bike is a 450. In the past couple of years, they limited it to 450 only, and that was just to create a level playing field for a lot more people to get involved with Dakar and involved with rally. They had some issues with guys getting injured and obviously killed too on the bigger V-twins, 950s and 700s, and so they limited it to 450. And actually the motor that I used for the Hare and Hounds is exactly the same as the motor that I used in Dakar. So as far as power goes, I felt comfortable. It was nothing different, but the rest of the rally bike's completely different. The frame's different, swing arm's different, the subframe is a gas tank. It's got 2 bigger gas tanks on the front, a big fairing in the front, and it holds over 9 gallons of gas. The frame's heavier, the swing arm's heavier, the whole navigation, GPS, it puts you right at around 380 to 390 pounds. So when I got back on my Hare and Hound bike, which is 250 pounds, I felt like I was riding a mountain bike yesterday in the race. And it's tough. It's tough to adjust to that much of a difference. When I got on the rally bike, I felt a little squirrely, and I adapted a little bit quicker, I think, just because you have to go a lot slower. You can't really be aggressive on that bike at all. And now that I went back to my Hare and Hound bike, I feel like I'm riding a 125 and I'm pinned everywhere, and the brakes work way too good. Like I'm gonna go over the bars if I slam on the brakes. So it was hard yesterday. I obviously I had a tough race anyway, but I didn't feel that great off the start, and towards the end of the race I felt a lot better, but I didn't get a finish. If anybody doesn't know, I had some back brake issues. My brakes went out, so I dropped back quite a bit, and we were able to change them in the pits, and I got going again, and I saw a buddy of mine down in a pretty tough downhill rocky section, and I stopped for him to see if he was okay, and he told me he had a broken leg, so immediately I knew I had to stop and help him, and so my race was over, but it wasn't an issue. I mean, he broke his leg, and I helped him up, got him on my bike, and rode him straight back to the pits so we can get him to the hospital. So yesterday wasn't the greatest, and bad start to the year, but at the same time it was something I think anybody would do in my situation. You don't just pass up a down rider. And so yeah, a lot went on yesterday.
Right.
I was trying to ride a 125 through the desert and with no brakes, and then
it's good to hear though that you're not just a fantastic rider, but you're also a sportsman. I think that's what makes our little industry so unique, in the fact that you've been such a gracious I'd say gracious host, but I haven't really stayed at your house or on your couch or anything. But you've been such a good dude in the sense that you take it easy. You notice that I just like to have fun with it. You're a cool dude. I like the fact that you're a cool dude, and we kind of play it up. But that, and you help down riders who have broken legs. I mean, I think it says a lot about your character, for that kind of stuff. So
I feel like that's something anybody would do. This sport is dangerous, and we all know it. And to go into a race thinking that it's the last race you're ever going to do is ridiculous. You just have to be open to whatever's going to happen is going to happen, and if somebody's hurt, that's way more important than any race you're going to win or lose. So I got plenty more races to do, and my buddy Brandon's still laying in the hospital, so I think it was important that we got him taken care of.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. Well, okay. Like I said, I know that you've got plans this evening. We don't mean to take up a bunch of your time. So you've kind of talked a little bit about your best times at Dakar. What is it that's something that you'd want to tell people that literally maybe they don't have any idea what Dakar is? They know you race motorcycles, but the people, what was the one thing that you just want people to take away from the fact that you got to do that race? You got to live out one of your dreams. Actually, you've lived out quite a few of them now at this point. What have you kind of learned, or what's your advice, Mr. Caselli?
Well, I think if you're a fan of off-road racing and a big fan like yourself,
I might just be a big fan of you. You don't know that. You don't.
You really have to try to get down and see and be a part of Dakar, whether it's at the start or the finish or even halfway through. That was the most amazing event I've ever been to. I mean, the spectators to the organization, the mechanics, just all the trucks that are racing. You see these big garbage trucks racing through the middle of the desert, and it's just nuts. I mean, there's so many people from different countries that are so involved, and they love that type of race. And it's somewhere, in South America, it's a lot of dunes. It's out in the middle of nowhere. You're pretty much just going through the desert wide open, and it's an awesome experience. I mean, I was blown away at how organized the event was. There's 3,000 people that are eating breakfast and dinner together every single day, and it's like a big moving circus that travels down through 3 different countries, and the racing isn't much different than what I'm used to riding as far as terrain goes, but we came into the rest day in Tucumán, and there was they had told me the night before, there's going to be 1 million spectators.
Right.
And I go, oh yeah, sure,
yeah, okay. Yeah.
I can honestly say there was 1 million spectators for at least 20-25 miles riding down the freeway before we even got into this town. There was people camped out on the side of the road cheering for us, and it was crazy. I mean, it shows you how big of an event it is, and they love that type of motorsports down there. It's like Europe. They love any type of racing or motorsports, and it's a lot different than what we know here in the U.S., where dirt biking has always been kind of a extreme sport, and you can't ride down Main Street and have somebody wave and give you a thumbs up.
Yeah, they're going to tell you to stop burning gasoline.
So it was a cool experience. I mean, just the logistics of it all, and meeting all the new people, and experiencing everything. And there's ups and downs. I hated waking up early, but at the same time, I was riding through the Andes in -5-degree weather and freezing my butt off and staring at the sun that was rising. It was just it was cool. I mean, it's something that I'll remember forever, and I can never replace those kind of memories. And that's what I always look forward to in traveling and racing different things, is just the kind of experience that you go through and that you take home. And I didn't do as well as I wanted to. I did good in a few stages. It's kind of a up and down there, but the most important part was I participated. I had a great time. I met a lot of people, and I'm gonna remember it forever. So it was awesome.
Sweet. Well, yeah, no, it sounds absolutely amazing. So I got a couple quick questions from the chat room. One of them is that you're going to Baja this week. What are you doing? Are you testing? You're just goofing off? You getting ready for the year with Baja? And another one was somebody was asking Zach Huberty about the air shock that's been showing up on Dungey's bike, and they wanted to know if you thought or if you knew that it might be showing up on any off-road machines shortly.
Well, good questions. I'm headed to Baja tomorrow. We're starting our initial setup for the year. We're going to do some suspension testing and some other stuff. And like I said before, KTM is really put a lot of effort towards Baja and doing things the right way. And we already have it in our schedule every single week that we're going down to Baja for a test, all the way up to the Baja 1000 in November. And so it's planned out. I mean, we're doing it right. We're going down there. This is just an initial setup for a week. I'll be down there for another week and 2 weeks before the San Felipe 250. So
right.
Basically 4 weeks of pre-running and testing before the first race. And, we're going to do the same for the Baja 500, 4 more weeks, and obviously a little bit more for the 1000. So a lot of time to spend down there. We got a lot to test and to figure out. So, yeah, next week will be good. This week, will be good. Yeah. It'll be, good for all of us to get together and go over some stuff. And with the air shock, well, I don't know how much I could say or what I could say, but
so yes,
Dungey's using it, and no, it's been around for a while. I know WP has been testing it for quite a bit. They've got some other stuff that they're testing that's even better than that. So. I think it's just a matter of time before it gets on the off-road models. I can't say when. I have no idea if we'll have the air shock or not. But, Dungey's been so great for KTM. He's done so much testing. The guy works his butt off. And it's just cool to see that whatever they're doing is going to reflect on us as well. And vice versa. We've had, off-road for KTM has been great. They've been so successful, and to now see that they're successful in Supercross and Motocross, it just it kind of fills the whole realm of dirt biking, and I feel like KTM's just taking over. So
yeah,
I'm happy to be a part of it all. And with the air shock, that's just one of a lot of things that they have coming out in the future.
So the R&D department is much deeper than just one little tiny air shock somewhere, right?
Yes, it
is. That's what I like to hear. I like it when things go deeper than you expect. So what you guys are watching is Seat Time. In case we have to say thank you very much to Kurt Caselli for being on. You can find Seat Time at seattime.co is the website, or on Facebook at facebook.com/seattime, and then Twitter, twitter.com/seattime_CEO. So we change it up a little bit on you. But Mr. Kurt Caselli, where can everybody find you? What are your closing words for this fine Monday evening, and what kind of beer will you be drinking later?
Well, just want to say thanks to everybody that goes to the races, that cheers me on. Yeah, thank you. I enjoy this sport, and that's why I do it. I'm just a fan. I'm passionate about motorcycle racing, and I want to race and meet people and have a good time and travel. I don't count my wins, and I don't put my trophies on the wall every time. And I love hearing other people's stories. I love meeting other people, and that's the best thing for me. So if anybody sees me, come say hi. Usually very approachable, and I try not to be a rock star to anybody by any means. we race off road and we don't make that much money.
Right.
So I have no reason to have a big head and to walk around, with my nose up. So no, thanks to you, Brian, for having me on the show.
For sure.
Verb Off Road has always been good to me. It's a small community, and I enjoy being a part of it, and I hope everybody else does too. So the beer tonight, I don't know. We're having pizza and beer and whatever they put in front of me. Limited, I should say.
Yes.
I will be drinking. But I'm bringing my mom and my girlfriend along with me, so at least one of them can drive me home.
Yeah, that's okay. I have a feeling at this point in time you are allowed to celebrate a little bit, so that's okay. Well, if you could try to go out there, have fun tonight. Be safe, but at the same time, remember to enjoy a pint full of awesome. That's what we're all about here at Seat Time. We can't say thank you enough to Mr. Kurt Caselli for being on the show. It's been a great time. We are going to have another full-on episode tomorrow night. This was just a quick teaser, I guess, if you will. And so, yeah. So, we'll see about it next time. We'll have fun. And thanks, chat room, for getting us some questions. Right, Kurt?
Thank you. Thanks, everybody, for watching, if you're watching.
Oh, they're watching. All 5 of them. Later, Dirt. Peace.
Yeah.